positivity versus being upbeat. Positivity, I've talked about in another video, is essentially acceptance of whatever your fate is. Fate, the reality of the situation is. Acceptance, true acceptance, then is when you're like, okay, I'm here now, and so I've got to do something about whatever situation it is that may potentially be, bad. Obviously, if the thing is good, what are you going to feel? Happy or maybe normal. But whatever normal is, it's definitely not, in a sad and bad state. And so upbeat, you could be upbeat because you're feeling great, or you could be upbeat because you're playing a certain role. Some people would say, like wearing your N95, your mask, and that is a reference to Kendrick Lamar's N95 song, basically talking about wearing masks. That's what we do, and it is something that is required at times, like wearing masks. It's not fake to wear a mask. It is, it's still yourself you're being, but you're putting on, you're not exposing certain types of feelings. Who wants to walk around and, you're talking to your friends all the time, you're just being down because you're feeling bad. Like sometimes you may feel tired, but a visitor comes in, you've got to pep up. So that's sort of like wearing a mask. I mean, obviously you don't want to be doing that every day, but it is a part of life. This whole idea of like, always, this is how I'm feeling, I'm going to behave that way. Well, especially if you intend on being a leader, a leader can't walk around down. Like, how are you going to inspire people if you're like, oh, everything is doomed and gloom? Come on. So there is a need to wear the mask and appear to be in a different state of mind than you may be feeling at the moment. One of the things that should be clear is that your feelings are not you. You don't have to always express your feelings every time you feel them. One of the things that I remember while growing up, people used to say things like, well, I'm keeping it real, as a justification for antisocial behavior. It's like, listen, I'm just being me. This is how I feel at the moment. Your feelings are not you. You don't have to act upon them just because you feel them. You also don't have to make other people uncomfortable because you feel a certain thing. I mean, so there is a line, right? I mean, because we're trying to be authentically me. And again, as I mentioned before, there is a difference between saying, acting in a way that you feel is the way you're supposed to act in a given group, because this is not you, you're pretending to be somebody else. And then there is, acting in the way that you're supposed to act because you are concerned about other people, not being the asshole. Concern about other people and their feelings is necessary in a world where we have to cooperate with one another. And so that may mean that sometimes you may feel certain things and there's nothing you can do about it. That's just life. Sometimes, for example, hopefully you understand that, if you're fearful, you still have to put on a brave face. If you're tired, especially if you have children or people that you're responsible for, as I talked about being a leader, you don't have to act upon your feelings. And in fact, it is part of what can be seen as strength to be able to overcome those feelings and act in your best self, which you would want to behave like regardless of what the circumstances are. Okay, so I just had to establish that. This is kind of a tangent, or not kind of at all. It is tangential, but it is intended to make people understand that you are constantly, or should be constantly, mindful of how you're presenting yourself and not necessarily just going based on how you feel at a given point. And so now, having established that, if I have established that with you, then the next thought is, all right, should you be modifying your state of the way that you are behaving because you want to be positive? And I would say that yes, for all the reasons that I mentioned, you want to remain positive, but it also shows true acceptance, right? Um, if, for example, you say you've accepted the circumstances as they are, whatever those, you know, unideal, these these circumstances that you would prefer not to have, but like I said, now I got to go and deal with it. I've accepted it, right? If you're still brooding over it, it really isn't that you've accepted it, right? Like you're still saying, "Oh my God, I wish this thing wasn't what it is." Well, it is what it is. So, what is your brooding going to do to change that? You might as well now let go of whatever feeling that you're upset about go because you accepted and now you got to step up and do something about it and then do it in a happy state. Sitting there being angry does not help you. In fact, it's hurting you, right? It's adding some sort of stress. You're sitting there upset about something, whereas you can be happy. Although, truth be told, there is benefit to, not benefit, there is value, unknowingly, there is value in, us being upset. This is the reason why we choose to do it. There are people who are addicted to anger. That feeling allows you, can be addictive for multiple reasons. One is, if you're sitting there angry, you can then have something to blame other than yourself. It's a way for you not to, you know, turn the guns on yourself and being like, I'm terrible. What is wrong with me? You can sit there and be angry at something, the world, oh, the God, the forces of nature. Oh, why me? You're sitting there being angry. You don't have to turn the guns on yourself. So that's one of the ways that ego protects you. That's one of the values that you're getting from it. And then the other value is that it's familiar. It's something that It's like it's the thought that I have. It works for me. So not only is it like, okay, now I don't have to turn the guns on myself. It's familiar. It's comforting. As opposed to now having to go do the hard work of fixing whatever the problem is, or saying, okay, now I've got to go do this thing. Like there's a comfort in saying, okay, yes, this is not me, this is the world, and so we choose not to let it go. Whereas we can, if we were to be able to shift our mindset, just be happy because that's the better state of being. And so I say this, not because I think that is easy. Everything, and I mean everything that we do that we think, comes naturally to some people, and it may appear that way, and it may even be the case that some have this predisposition to having some of these things possible. But if that's not what they're dealing with another thing that you may think is innate to you, that is natural to you, that they would have to practice. The thing is, everything that we do is about practice. So practicing, shifting your mood, as difficult as it is, because you really truly want to stay there, and then your mind is also working to help you stay there, because it will find all of the reasons why things are bad, and it will give you supporting evidence because that's where it wants to be. Yes. And then it will replay whatever story that you're telling yourself as to the reason why you should be upset, or it's somebody else's fault and whatever. And the truth is that sometimes it is somebody else's fault, and you want to sit there and be like, yes, it's somebody else's fault. So now, I get to be upset at that person. Whereas accepting it means, okay, that person's done it. Now I can go ahead and be happy because I've just decided to move forward and fix it. Um, and so what you'll find is that if you are still stuck with this whole, anger and angst, it's going to be very difficult for you to start to filter and only take in positive moods that impact how you perform, how others see you and respond to you, and therefore what impact you get. People who are, whenever it is that you're feeling confident and happy and all this other stuff, people are responding to you in that manner because that's how you're coming across. And like, oh my God, the energy that you're giving off, they can, take back and give it back to you. In some cases, you'll have somebody who's upset, and now your energy does not impact them, and then you may take that and think, okay, well, here's evidence that things are not great, but that's that person. Vast majority of people will respond to you with your positive energy, and that will have sort of like a positive reinforcement loop that helps you out when you're also receiving all positive evidence. Like your mind is filtering only positive things, and you will be more confident and take on whatever it is that you're performing, whatever it is that you're doing. You'll take that on and do it in a way that is likely to lead to success. And so that's the reason why you have to be in a positive state and attitude. All right, that is my number 2 video for today. I did this one in a different format. I'm going to post this in cartoon format. Hope that you like it. If you do, let me know.